Okay.
We've got everyone in, do we think? Just make a start, because people can catch up with it later.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming along to this session today. Very, very excited today to introduce Mary Leck, who's the Interim Head of Schools at Young Enterprise Scotland, Isabelle Murray, the Head Teacher at Crosshouse Primary in South Lanarkshire, and Jackie Noon, the Financial Education Champion at Crosshouse Primary too. They're going to talk about their experience of how Crosshouse Primary became a centre of excellence in financial education, and we do really appreciate you coming along today because it's a brilliant story to tell, and I'm really excited for you to share that today. Before we do start, there's a few protocols, as with everything, and if you've been in any other sessions, you'll likely be aware of these protocols, but just a few things just to start before we move on. So just make sure that your microphone is off, just to prevent any background noise and any interference. Also, make sure that you, if you lose your signal at any point or you can't hear anything, the best opportunity there is to just leave the call and rejoin. There's no specific science around that. It just seems to work for some reason most of the time. If you do want to ask questions, stick them into the chat as they come through your head. We might not answer them straight away, but we'll try to address them as we go through the session. So just stick them into the chat and we'll get to them at some point. There is also a closed captions feature that you can enable. If you kind of go to the three wee dots, more section, you'll be able to see that there's a closed captions, and that just enables an increased accessibility. If I've done the connection, if you want to tweet, very important, hashtag SLF22, share this lovely experience of coming along to this session, and anything that you get out of it, we'd love to see that as well. And of course, just as part of it being a professional learning environment, we do welcome a diverse range of thoughts and opinions, but just making sure that we express these respectfully as well. With that, I'm going to stop talking now because what I've got to say is not as important as the main event. So I'm going to hand you over to Mary now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate the opportunity for us, both at Young Enterprise Scotland and at Crosshouse Primary School in South Lanarkshire, to talk about the experience of becoming a centre of excellence in financial education, but from your perspective also to talk about what you can do if you want to drive forward successful financial education in your establishment, whether that's early years, primary or secondary. So I will introduce Jackie and Isabelle shortly. We'll do a wee bit just to begin, and then we'll move over to hear the most exciting part, which is their journey. And then finally, as I say, we'll get onto some toolkits and support to get you started. So that's what we're going to run through today. We know that financial education doesn't sit as a discrete subject in the curriculum for excellence, and that can sometimes be a challenge for yourselves as practitioners in order to get other people on board and to justify why you think it's so valuable. But hopefully by the time you leave today's session, myself and Jackie and Isabelle will have convinced you otherwise, if you're a little bit sceptical on that one. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before we do anything else, I'd like to just get a wee bit of your thoughts on this. If you've got another browser or you've got your phone or a tablet or something to hand, we'd like to get a wee bit of interactivity. So if you go on to menti.com, there's a code there and it will be shared in the chat shortly. And what I'm going to do is come out of the PowerPoint and into the actual live survey. It's just a couple of wee questions, and I just want to establish, you know, how do you feel about financial education and about the teaching of it and so on. So there's a couple of wee slides. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment and come out of there. Just give me 1 second, folks. It's all really super smooth, as you can see. And I'm just going to share this little quiz with you. Okay, so some folk have already gone on to it, which is brilliant. How confident do you feel, I suppose, is the key question. One of the reasons we started this at Young Enterprise Scotland was really because we were hearing from surveys right across the 4 nations that teachers were afraid of the enormity of the task, and it was kind of like, oh, where do I start? How confident am I? What about my own experience of it? Okay, so we usually get it pretty much in the middle. There's very few people who are extremely confident on it. Now, I can't see how many participants there are on the call, but I noticed that 10 people have done the survey just now. So I'll give people another wee opportunity just if they want to take a moment to do that so that everyone gets to do it. But yeah, it's good to say. Well done, the one person who said they weren't confident at all. I totally know where you're coming from. But yeah, that's, you know, confidence is the issue. And this is the whole purpose of our project, Scotland's Financial School, is to support you and build your confidence in doing that. And sometimes, as I say, because it doesn't really sit within the curriculum, then, you know, people don't feel the confidence to go ahead and deliver it, and what are they going to do about it? But yeah, excellent to see. Thank you for participating, folks. And we'll go on to the next question. How confident were you with your own financial capability when you left school? So thinking about your own experience, and I know that later on Isabelle and Jackie are going to touch on, you know, the experiences of young people today and how they feel about their own financial learning. Yeah, interesting. So that's really reflecting on, you know, now your own confidence might be because you had family members, or another method of building up your financial capability, your financial literacy. Yeah. Again, I think that's where we really see it usually, that second one along, I felt okay, or I wasn't confident. And this is, again, it's not only the enormity of the task of teaching, it's where do our own financial capabilities sit? And hopefully some of the resources that we share with you later on actually will help you a wee bit with that. Some of them are actually for the young people, but personally, I've dipped into it a few times myself to see if I can get a wee bit of advice and help. Okay, and finally, what immediately comes into your head when you hear financial education? So this is a little Wordle. So if you just type in, you've got, I think, maybe 4 wee boxes. If you just type in any words that you think, what is financial education? This one usually takes a wee bit longer, is type them in. You start to panic that nobody's actually doing it. Ah, there we go. Whoa, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, tricky. The recognition of it being essential. Delighted someone's put in well-being, absolutely. Confidence, excellent. And awareness, absolutely. Credit and debt, that's helpful. Yeah, money management, of course. Spending. Those are all fantastic. Like that one, living within your means. We don't often see that. The life-work balance, setting up for life. Absolutely. And I'm going to show you a wee Wordle shortly, which actually links to much of what you've said on there. Things just now. Overlooked, I like that. Actually, when Glasgow City Council asked their learners what was missing from the curriculum, you might have seen that wee graphic before. Young people said financial education was missing. So I think that then it's overlooked. I think that's really crucial. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. I'm going to just come out of there and go back into the presentation. Apologies for the clunkiness of it, as I say. And just to reflect on some of, oops, apologies, that's not shared. Just try that again. Yeah. There we go. So we've got another wee Wordle for you. Now, shortly, Isabelle and Jackie are going to provide their own school's perspective as to why financial education matters so much to them, their pupils and families at Crosshouse. But just taking on board what you've said there in the little quiz, why do we think it's so crucial? And actually, some of the things you've brought up are here on, you'll recognise the Learning for Sustainability Wordle. The mistake is often made that financial education sits within numeracy and maths, which of course it does, but it doesn't exclusively sit there or within business education. What we think is it's a lot more than that. And as you know, in Scottish education, Learning for Sustainability is that mechanism for working towards a socially just and sustainable and equitable society for everyone. We know, crucially, it's an entitlement for all of our learners and that it's embedded in your professional standards as well. I like to call it that golden thread that runs through the curriculum, and it covers so many different aspects. So how does financial education sit in? Well, it sits under several of these key strands that you can see in the Wordle. If you teach financial education in a variety of rich real life contexts, in that IDL kind of context, your learners will learn to be great problem solvers, which you can see sitting up there. They'll develop resilience, they'll build skills for life, learning and work, all of which come under learning for sustainability. They'll start to think hopefully about responsible use of the planet's resources, trying to make things last. Yes, you'll save money if you can make things last and you don't need to buy, you know, a new washing machine because you've got it serviced. You don't need to buy a new phone because you've bought a modular version, and try to eradicate that throwaway society. So the young people taking those types of contexts will start to be thinking about not only the financial aspect of it, but the impact on climate as well. And crucially, of course, in developing those robust financial skills, they'll be able to make decisions and face the challenges that managing money brings. That will support their mental well-being. It will reduce their risks of becoming overwhelmed and anxious by debt and money worry. So providing our young people with the language and the well-being tools of financial education, we can build equality and fairness and hopefully eradicate poverty and inequity. Basically, in short, it will help to build responsible citizens for the future who can make financial choices and decisions to contribute to a better future for themselves and others. So that's why it's important. If anybody ever asks you and they say, well, it's not really in the curriculum, it's an add-on. No, it isn't. This is why it's crucial. So we're going to touch on the Centre of Financial Excellence today, and we are joined by Isabelle and Jackie from Crosshouse, who share their journey just on the next slide. But I want to briefly give you an overview. We have received funding to work with 3 schools in Scotland up until this point. Crosshouse has been the first to successfully submit their portfolio and be awarded, and we're absolutely delighted, and we're delighted that they can attend the session today and share that journey with them. We've also got another 2 schools in Glasgow, one of whom has just submitted their portfolio and another who are just about to embark on their journey. So we're really excited about that. Basically, it recognises and rewards schools who are committed to excellence in financial education, not only within and across their own school, but beyond. The aim of the programme, of course, is to develop practical, effective and sustainable financial education for our young people. So what a school does first is they appoint a financial education champion. You know, I don't know if that's, you know, a reward or a punishment, but it's basically someone who's prepared to lead with support from senior leadership team and the rest of the staff. They then use an improvement framework that we'll touch on a few times as a key tool. That's basically professional standards where there's excellence in financial education. And we've got a Scottish version of that we've done in partnership, not only with Crosshouse, but with Education Scotland and other partners to try and make, because there is no framework for financial education sitting across the curriculum in the Scottish curriculum. So that's what we've tried to build, and we'd really like support from you as practitioners as we roll that out, you know, and hopefully from Education Scotland to develop it as well, as hopefully curricular changes are made. The champion will have one-to-one support from a consultant who will guide them throughout the programme. They work directly with that person to support them to develop engaging and inspiring learning programmes, staff development and everything else that's needed. Now, needless to say, the children and young people are at the heart of this programme. The one we've done just now is for primary. It is available for secondaries as well, and we're hoping we're going to get some funding in one of the local authorities for primary and secondary over the next couple of years. The goal is that our learners will leave school with the knowledge, skills and confidence to make those informed and independent financial decisions. Now, the benefits for schools are there. You've got free support from an educational consultant, obviously the improved learning experiences and outcomes driven by the needs and priorities of the young people. And you can see on the right what teachers say about it and what the impact has been. What you'll also see, and I know Isabelle and Jackie will touch on this, the links with external partners, business sector volunteers, local organisations and so on. And of course, what you also get is recognition of your excellence. But for us, there's also a really crucial thing. This gives us a louder voice as a charity. This lets us sit at the table with Scottish Government and other stakeholders and say, we think financial education is crucial for our children and young people. So by Crosshouse having this award, it actually gives us a voice, and that's what we're hoping to have as we go on, not only at Westminster, but also at Holyrood. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to the experts. I'm going to pass over to Isabelle Murray, who's the head teacher at Crosshouse Primary School in East Kilbride, and our financial education champion, Jackie Noon, and they're going to tell you a wee bit about their journey. So over to you, folks.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a joy to join you all this afternoon and share with you our journey. A little bit of context about Crosshouse. So Crosshouse is a very large primary school in East Kilbride with 412 learners. We have a nursery class and an additional support needs base. A third of our learners are entitled to free school meals, and we serve a very diverse socio-economic catchment area. We have children residing in all 10 7D deciles, and at Crosshouse, children really are at the heart of all that we do. Our heart values underpin all aspects of our work. As the first financial centre of excellence in Scotland, we're delighted to share our journey with you today. Next slide, please. We were aware that the economic consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic would be profound, and we wanted to prepare our learners and their families for this. Research shows that only 45% of 7 to 17-year-olds in Scotland recall having had any financial education at school. This means that too many young people are at risk of entering adulthood without being prepared for the money-related challenges that lie ahead. Without the skills built through financial education, young people are at risk of financial difficulties, exclusion, and debt. Like many of my colleagues here today, I would imagine we were delivering food parcels and signposting families to financial support during the COVID pandemic. We found that we were engaging more and more in conversations with learners and families in relation to their finances. With learners spending more time at home, we also found that they appeared more financially aware, and some expressed concerns and worries around money. Financial worries, as we know, are a nationwide problem, particularly in the current economic crisis. Money worries create anxiety, which can impact on mental health. We wanted our children to be better prepared to make better financial decisions and to equip them with the necessary skills. In relation to our work in cost of the school day, it had a profound impact on the staff too. I recall members of staff team being visibly moved as we told the story "It's a No Money Day" by Kate Milner. The realisation that some of our children and our learners had experience of this was enough to convince them that we needed to make some improvements in this area. Research has found that the average child begins to receive pocket money at age 7. They own their first mobile phone at 8 and purchase online items at 10. They can open a bank account or have a debit card at 11, and at 18 they can apply for a credit card or loan. And before they leave school, they have to make crucial decisions about jobs, student loans, and living independently. As we know, financial services and technologies are fast and ever changing. As a head teacher, I have to catch myself sometimes in disbelief when I say we're a cashless school. Today, you will hear us say that financial education is more about money, and it is. But in thinking about money and thinking about our young people, we have to equip our learners to live in a world with money that they don't now see or touch. In a world where money actually doesn't grow on trees, but exists in a card or a smartphone, which we hover now in front of a machine. In a world where pocket money is now transferred to a child's account on a banking app. This is a challenge, but one we need to embrace. We need to create a relevant and financial education curriculum which moves with technological advances. Next slide, please. So how our journey started? Well, we had to get everyone on our financial education bus to get everybody to come along on the journey with us. And like every bus, it needs a driver. We needed a financial education champion. And for us, it wasn't difficult at Crosshouse to find that person. For years, Jackie Noon, our class teacher, has demonstrated an unwavering commitment and passion for supporting learners to develop their skills for life learning and work. Jackie is also committed to providing a relevant and dynamic curriculum for the learners in our school. We had to make sure that financial education was a prominent feature in our school recovery plan. This allowed us to allocate the necessary time and resources to support our work in this area. Our aim was to equip our school community with the necessary support to have conversations about finance through a supportive school ethos. I recall sending one email out to parents and carers, signposting them to our community wellbeing team and the Money Matters service. We were overwhelmed with the response we got and how receptive our community was to the support offered. We engaged in conversations with stakeholder groups about financial education and raised awareness about the cost of the school day. Our learners created mascots, you'll see them behind me, named Freddie and Frankie, the financial foxes, to encourage us to talk about finance. We also carried out a large-scale whole school audit of all stakeholder groups. Next slide, please. Okay, so what we learned, and Mary has already touched on this, we knew at Crosshouse how important financial education was and really relevant to us within our context. But CFE didn't really support this, particularly with the lack of reference to financial education within the E's and O's. One job that I did manage to undertake was to type the words financial education into a search in the E's and O's. And believe you me, it comes up once or twice in third or fourth level social subjects. However, nonetheless, we felt an overwhelming responsibility to ensure that our children had the opportunity to gain the skills and confidence they needed to manage finances, now and in later life. We were brave and had the necessary support from our local authority, from people like Mary and senior leaders to develop a financial education curriculum fit for our school. We also needed to equip teachers with the necessary support and resources to engage in quality financial education lessons and have the confidence to engage in conversations about finance in the classroom. We needed to develop a financial education curriculum in terms of the curriculum pathways relevant to our learners at Crosshouse. Much of the work at this stage in financial education, as Mary has already said, was based on the English curriculum. Now we have our own Scottish version, which is great, and we will talk about that in a bit. Very quickly, we realised that financial education was much more than learning about money. We needed to develop a holistic view of financial education and the impact it has, particularly on mental health and well-being. We very quickly realised that it was more than a one-year plan. Work in this area was going to shape our entire curriculum rationale. It was going to impact in all areas of the curriculum. I'm now going to hand over to Jackie Noon, our financial education champion, who will tell you a little bit more about how we went about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Noon, lovely to be with you this afternoon. As Isabelle said, at Crosshouse, the heart values underpin everything that we do. Part of this is making sure everyone feels that they are really listened to. We carried out initial stakeholder surveys and had pupil focus groups across all stages. The initial surveys highlighted that there were the largest gaps in knowledge, where for each age group, this meant that the teachers were able to place more emphasis on these and identify where the children needed more support. Our staff school improvement group spent time identifying these gaps in knowledge and ensured that these weaker areas were then focused on. One of these areas which scored low initially was safe money management. Children told us that they were worried about being scammed. They hear all these things so often now. We worked together with our financial education pupil leadership group to ensure that they were involved, included every part of the journey. They actively engaged in communication and discussions about the next steps. They contributed to planning Financial Education Week and making sure it met the needs and aspirations about financial education. They knew that their views were sought, valued and acted upon, and that was really important. The external support available for FE is fantastic out there. As Isabelle was saying, for us this included Mary Leck from Young Enterprise Scotland, also HSBC Bank, My Bank, Money Matters, Credit Union, and also various others that were introduced to us through parents or family friends working in the finance and insurance industries. We were surprised to find just how many people linked to our school already worked in the financial sector. We knew that to get our teachers on board, we needed to provide high quality resources. Our school improvement group put together easy to access a bank of lessons, all taken from our new Money Matters resources, which focused initially on plugging these gaps and to provide a range of interesting, engaging, inspiring, but most of all important, relevant financial education resources tailored to the needs of the learners at our school. We assessed existing resources and researched and purchased new resources. We realised that many of the existing resources in the school were more to do with numeracy. A lot of the lessons that I've been teaching in previous years were all to do with like adding and subtracting money. It wasn't relevant. So money and numeracy resources didn't take into account the bigger financial education picture, as illustrated in the Young Money Financial Education Framework outcomes. So after researching the possibilities, we purchased online Young Money resources for the whole school and also resource store lessons specifically for our P7s. These resources were of high quality, they were engaging, they were easy to use and relevant and would meet the needs of all our learners. The impact of these new resources was carefully monitored and evaluated to ensure a positive impact on learning. Raising the profile of financial education was also extremely important, and we organised a very successful Financial Education Week, 2 years in a row actually. This provided the opportunity for everyone to engage with progressive lessons and use the resources. And our partners in the finance industry were virtual visitors in 2020 and face-to-face visitors earlier this year in 2021. We provided CLPL for all staff. We discussed potential issues with regard to diversity and inclusion, for example, economic diversity in our local community, job and income losses due to COVID, gender equality when discussing jobs and earnings, and religious and cultural differences with regard to borrowing money. Our financial education mascots behind me here, Freddie and Frankie, designed by the pupils, remind us to make good financial decisions and not fall victim to those sly scammers. So lovely meeting you all, and I'm just going to hand back to Isabelle now. I'll be available for questions at the end.
Thanks, Jackie. So just some nuggets of gold, hopefully you can take away with you today some words of advice. So in the beginning, we spent a lot of time developing our curriculum and progression pathways and accessing resources. But you don't need to do all that now because we now have a fantastic financial skills website and much of the work has already been done for you. So all you need to do is join, and it's free. So start small. My advice would be to try some of the grab and go lesson ideas with your own class, or signpost your colleagues to those in your school. As we've said, it's really important to try and establish an ethos in your school where financial dialogue is encouraged, and hopefully you've learned some of the ways that we've managed to do that here at Crosshouse. I would advocate that you put financial education at the heart of your curriculum. The current economic climate in terms of the cost for living crisis means as educators, we have a duty to prepare our children and young people for a financially evolving world. And if you remember anything from the day today, please remember this. Please remember the 3 R's: relevance, relevance, and relevance. It must be relevant to the learners in your context, in your school and in your community. Listen to what your learners and their families are telling you about financial education, but be brave, be creative and enjoy the journey. But please remember, you're not alone. We are here to help. Please get in touch if you would like to jump on this financial education bus. No bus fare is required, not even a contactless payment. Please come and join us on our bus, and our contact details are on the slide, both my own email address and Jackie's email address. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll hand back to Mary. Sorry, Mary, you just need to unmute.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hadn't noticed you're a tiny wee window in the bottom because I'm looking at the slides. Thank you so much to Isabelle and Jackie, not only for today, where they've been phenomenal as always, but for all the hard work over the last couple of years that they've done to get here. And I was delighted to see Freddie and Frankie making an appearance. I wasn't sure if they were, so delighted to see them there. And like they say, it's really key that the learners are at the heart of all of this. And I think Crosshouse have illustrated that. I think to take the advice of the school, absolutely, you don't have to go digging. You don't have to jump through the many, many hoops that Crosshouse did in order to become a centre of financial excellence. You can move your journey forward at your pace and with our support. So at Young Enterprise Scotland, we've got a brand new project which we've been funded for over the last year. And moving forward, we want to expand, and it's going to be Scotland's Financial Schools. The website is live, and we'll give you all the details. There's a QR code at the end where you can actually click into it. So the website is aimed at all sectors from early years all the way to senior phase. I know Crosshouse have talked about their journey as a primary school, but that journey is just as relevant in the nursery setting and in secondaries. Now, this website contains resources. It contains interesting practice. It talks about links to supporting partners and their resources. There's also links to CLPL and other events. And as Isabelle said, it's completely free. So I'm going to run through some of the key highlights for you just now. As I say, we don't always have the Centres of Financial Excellence available. We're very much beholden to the funders around that. But meantime, you can get your journey started with these resources. It's taking a wee minute. There we go. So what I've done is just taken some wee screenshots of what's on there. I didn't want to risk doing it live on the website. But in addition to our own specific resources on this slide, we also have signposts to approximately 70 external partners, some of whom Jackie mentioned earlier on, people like My Bank and the RBS resources and all of those types of things. At the moment, we're transferring them from our Young Enterprise Scotland site. They're not quite on this site yet. Keep your eyes peeled, they'll be on there shortly. Jackie mentioned earlier on, Isabelle mentioned rather, I should say, the grab and go lessons. So if you don't know where to start, this is where to dip your toe in the water. There are lessons on there created by my colleague Gillian on financial education tasters, if you like. Don't know where to begin. In actual fact, Gillian and I went out to Crosshouse to sample a couple of those lessons and see how they worked in practice with the children. So there's early level all the way to senior phase grab and go lessons. So don't know where to start, I would suggest you start there. Moving on, you've got the opportunity to dig a wee bit deeper. So you can see the IDL ones that are on there, again, right across all of the levels, and there to suit your learners' needs and interests. And who knows, maybe you'll get started on that and be inspired to create your own IDL planners and your own IDL activities. I know that that was one of the next steps that Jackie and the team were going to take forward at Crosshouse, and I know that the other school in Glasgow who've submitted their portfolio, that's what they're working on right now as well. So it's just building your confidence to then start to think about creating your own learning resources. There's also professional support available. So if you look to the right of that slide, there's self-directed e-learning modules. And I know some of you on the call have already signed up to do those. Do them at your own pace and reflect on your current practice and knowledge and see how you might develop that. There's also the progression pathway, which I'll show you in the next slide. As Isabelle said earlier on, it was English. It was for the English curriculum, and we had no Scottish version. But thanks to the work that Crosshouse have done and St Martha's in Glasgow, alongside partners from local authorities across Scotland and Education Scotland, we all threw into the mix to say, what do we like, what do we not like, what can we do to make this work? And I'll show you that pathway next. And it's a good tool to get you started to kind of go, where are we now? Where do we want to be? There's also on there, you can see a whole school reflection tool, and I'll share that with you. Again, that's a good starting point to say, where are we? What are we doing well? Where do we need to plug the gaps? There's also, you can see the wee blue tile there, My Money Talks. Now that specifically is in-school workshops for S5 and S6, where we can come out and do saving and budgeting workshops for your young people who are preparing to leave school. Really crucial stuff, and I'll dig a wee bit deeper into that. But that's just some of the resources that are available on the website. As I say, we then developed these progression pathways linked to the Scottish curriculum. You'll notice that you've got RME on there, you've got maths and numeracy, you've got health and wellbeing. We tried to tease out, exactly as Isabelle said, it's not explicit in there. We had to tease it out together to say, actually, you know, thinking about safety and risk and reward, where does that sit? Thinking about taking risks, all those types of things. Not, yes, the numeracy processes, the money processes are there, but it's not just about that. And this is why we have to do it. So it gives you the coverage. This is the early level one, obviously. All of the pathways follow the same structure, the same headings, to ensure that clear progression for you in order to monitor and evaluate what's happening and to plug the gaps. Okay, you'll also notice at the bottom, it's linked to the rights of the child and to the Sustainable Development Goals. So it fits in your whole learning for sustainability piece. This is a whole school reflection tool. This is a really good starting point because we've designed it to look a wee bit like Higios or Higuelk, where you've got your quality indicators and where do we sit on that sliding scale. And it's designed to be used in that same reflective way. Where are you already doing great work that you can, you know, get those easy wins, and where should you be building in next steps towards excellence as a school? So those things are all there. They sit entirely free for you to download and to start your own journey and think, right, how do we move from point A to point B and then move forward from there? There's also the pocket guide, and this is a good one if you've got some reluctant people who don't want to get on the bus. And basically, this is the kind of, well, the old have to. This is why we have to do it. You know, don't let people tell you it doesn't sit in the curriculum, because you've got all this evidence here. There are quality indicators that sit on Higios that are all about the skills for life, learning and work, all about well-being and equality and inclusion, all about increasing your opportunities for creativity and employability. Don't tell me that financially literate young people are not going to be able to access the world of work, because these skills are crucial to them. But we've also got, obviously, interdisciplinary learning. We've got developing the employability skills, as well as thinking about meeting the attainment challenge. So there's all of those crucial components as to why we have to do it. So as I say, you might want to show that to some folk waiting at the bus stop that are reluctant to get on the financial education bus. This is a really useful tool. Now, this is specifically for 14 to 16-year-olds, and every school in Scotland got a 75 free copies of it last Easter. Some of them are still sitting in Janny's offices. We do have schools every now and again who say, this looks like a great resource, can we have some? You've got 75, go and see if you can find them. But we do have others that we can send on to you. But more crucially, there are supporting PowerPoints on the website. You can see the 6 chapter headings. Those are the same 6 chapter headings that are in the book. We worked with focus groups in order to ensure that this was, you know, Scotland friendly as much as possible. Wasn't making links to English law around things like student loans, those types of things. We tried to make it as, you know, relevant to the Scottish context as possible. The content is really varied, and it goes much beyond money calculations. It's about financial terminology, thinking about how can I access grants and funding as I leave school, managing debt, the problems that come with internet safety, all of those types. It's getting case studies, group tasks. It can also be easily adapted. We do know that a few primary 7 and primary 6 teachers have nabbed a copy from us and said, we've tried this this section on risk, we've tried out this section on needs and wants. So there's lots of stuff in there. It might even be useful for you as a practitioner for your own level. I know loads of folk have taken them, said, I've got teenagers at home, I'm taking that with me. But even for your own money management, you know, we're not all confident in managing our money, so it might help. As I say, you can get the copy online, but we can also send on. There are e-learning modules, which are really watching a wee video, doing a wee quiz, quite an interactive thing. There's young people sort of role-playing and talking about, oh, you know, I can't afford to go on that trip because I don't have money and I don't know how to start saving. Well, here's ways that you could go about it. So those are really, really good. We've just got a wee bit of a tech issue around getting them up onto the site. They will be with you soon. We're hoping by the end of September, start of October. We've left them with the folk that know what they're doing. So there's loads of stuff on there that you can access. So as Isabelle mentioned earlier on, there are plenty of next steps that you can consider. The Scotland's Financial website is completely free, and we're completely free to support you in your journey. Myself and my colleague Gillian, we've developed lots and lots of tools to support you, and we're building our team. We've recently had Bev join us in our team at Young Enterprise Scotland as well, and what she does is deliver that S5, S6, those workshops, but there's loads of work getting done behind the scenes on the resources, and as the team from Crosshouse said earlier, this is as much about a one-stop shop, so you don't have to go hunting high and low like they did for all of those things. We've had loads of support from Education Scotland in making this happen, particularly Jacqueline, who's on the call with us, and our colleague Nanette. There's loads and loads of stuff and if you want other stuff on there, let us know. Read all about Crosshouse's journey, but then share your own good practice. You know, have you got a wee group of kids that are leading on fair trade and, you know, they're running the fair trade tuck shop completely independently? What about, have you got a credit union? Have you got a partnership with, you know, my bank or somebody else where you're actually carrying forward something? Have you got supports maybe in your nursery where you're working closely with families on the family education piece? Anything at all. And that's not just a call to action to teachers and practitioners, it's also to local authorities. Have you got stuff that you're doing at local authority level? And we have been approached by local authorities to say, we want to do this across our whole organisation. We've got several local authorities that are really keen in support with Education Scotland to actually roll out, not necessarily the centres of excellence, but let's all work towards journeys towards excellence, using as many resources and tools and supports, and join the dots, because there's lots of brilliant work going on across the country, and it's really about us trying to get that in front of you and support you with it. Also, as Isabelle mentioned earlier on, try those grab and go lessons. You know, if you really don't know where to begin, do that. Loads of teachers feedback to us as well on the RBS money sense lessons and say that they're fantastic. I know that St Martha's, that was one of the things that they tried to use. There is a cost attached to the resources that Isabelle and Jackie mentioned earlier on, those young money ones, but they are so robust. The teachers absolutely love them. They actually deliver everything that almost everything that the school really want to do around financial education. So I think that's a really crucial point, is take their advice and maybe if you can invest that wee bit in getting resources like that. Obviously, you need to look at what you've currently got, but think about, yes, we've got loads of money-based stuff, but have you got stuff that's based around the issues around money? Have you got health and wellbeing materials, or have you got external partners that can support you with that? So have a wee think about those types of things to get you started. My advice would be also to take that progression pathway and have a look at it and say, how can we embed this in our own planning? How can we start our journey? Where do we start? And that's where the whole school reflection tool also comes into play, where you can say, actually, we're not bad. We're sitting at a 6 out of 10 as far as we're concerned on there. Can we carry that forward? If it's in your improvement plan, you've probably got a working party around it. So if you're maybe developing the young workforce and the skills for life learning and work in your school improvement plan, then this should be part of it, because this is a key skill for life. The other thing is you could sign up and do some of the online e-learning, but we also do CLPL sessions. So, for example, we've been running with Glasgow City Council. There's early years, primary and secondary. We've got a session coming up with Tayside. We've got sessions in Stirling. We've got sessions in Dumfries and Galloway. Some are arranged by your local authority, so watch out through your sort of CPD manager or wherever, but others can be arranged by us. If you want us to work with your school, with your cluster, anything like that, where you think we'd like a wee bit of support around that, then we at Young Enterprise Scotland can support you with that. And if you've got some reluctant passengers, we can help with that as well. Sometimes it takes an external face to come in and do a little bit of gentle persuasion, and then you find you get, you know, lots of volunteers after that. But that would be our recommendation. And of course, finally, get in touch. This will be shared with all of you not long after today's session. I know Education Scotland will edit it slightly and send it on, but you'll see both Jackie and Isabelle's email addresses and so on. And on this slide, you can see my contact details, quite an easy email address. yes.org.uk is also our website. And from our main website, you can also access Scotland's Financial Schools website. I've put up my colleague Gillian's details as well. She is the project manager for Scotland's Financial Schools, and you can see our 2 Twitter handles there, ScotFin Schools and YE_Scotland. But you have my permission to take out your phone now and use it over the QR code, and that'll take you straight to the Scotland's Financial Schools website, where hopefully you'll get to see it. Thank you so much for coming. We do have some time at the end here if you've got any questions. I can't see the chat or indeed anybody, so I'm just talking into the ether, hoping you're all still there. If you've got any questions and you've put them into the chat or you want to share them just now, then we're happy to answer them as fully as we can. If something occurs to you later on, you'd like a wee bit of help or support either from us or the school, and I'm sure they would appreciate you coming to us first. They're much busier than we are. Then please reach out and get in touch. And as I say, if you scan that, you can get to the website just now. So I'm going to stop sharing just now and come back into the room and hope that you're all still there. And before we have the questions, I would like to just thank Jacqueline and Nanette for putting this forward on our behalf to Education Scotland as part of the Learning Festival. We're really delighted to be here and to get this opportunity to share the great work that Crosshouse has done. I mean, for them to be the first school in Scotland is nothing short of an enormous feat and a great, you know, testament to the work that they've done, and we can't congratulate them enough. We were really delighted on their behalf, and to have done it under the circumstances that we were all living in the past 2 years is, well, frankly, a miracle. So they are miracle workers, apart from being bus drivers as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And I don't know, Jacqueline, if we've got any questions or if anybody would like to come off mic and make any comments or anything at all, we're here to help.
Annie, just while people are maybe having a wee think about that, lots of thanks in the chat, and I just echo that. Honestly, I love listening to this. This is one of my favourite parts of my job, is getting involved in the financial education, purely because it's just so important and it's so beneficial to the learners. And what I really liked about today is I was nodding away in everything that you and Isabelle and Jackie were saying. Couldn't agree more with what you were saying. But just the fact that there is just so much support out there, lots of helpful tips from Crosshouse, so thank you very much for that, and lots of resources provided from yourself that are free to access as well, which is just fantastic. So I hope this session has inspired others today. It has been really great to listen to, and thank you to yourself, Isabelle and Jackie, because it's been brilliant. So thank you so much.